welcome to episode 118. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? No matter your destination, the travel specialists at 3D Travel Company are there to help. Just head on over to my website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click the Book Now button on the left-hand side to get your free quote today.
Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. Today's special guest is the voice of Leonardo from the 1980s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He was also the voice of Omer from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Mr. Fantastic from the Spider-Man animated series from 1994. Here are a few clips and then our interview with today's special guest. I hope you all enjoy.
Donatello's right. If we weren't around, maybe Shredder wouldn't be either.
Be careful what you wish for, my students. You just might get it.
This here is the only money that's good in this town.
That's Shredder's picture.
Naturally, what'd you expect? This is Shredderville.
Shredderville? Is this some kind of a practical joke?
It's no joke, mutant. Now scram out of here before I call the cops.
What's happened to this city? The whole place has changed overnight. Let's go find April. Maybe she's got some answers.
What happened? Am I okay?
Did the Technodrome blow up?
Did April and Irma get away?
And what happened to Emperor Shredder?
We're in the lair. It was all a dream.
A dream?
You too?
The same one?
Well, my turtles, if you shared the same dream, I hope you all learned the same lesson.
We know. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Precisely.
What's the situation here?
You'd better sit down. We were taken by those foul lizards for their amusement. To be hunted, killed, and mounted on their wall as trophies.
We've been stuck here for more rotations than we can count. No one has come for us. I doubt anyone is still looking.
Chew on that, Padawan. Then rest.
Well, I guess we won't be escaping on that ship.
We'll find another way.
What was that?
A survivor. It could be one of the prisoners they were dropping off.
What is that?
It's a Wookiee.
You know, Spider-Man was telling the truth. The scientists of this planet must have made this their last fortress against the forces of evil.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today on the show I am super excited to be bringing you an interview with Cam Clarke. Cam, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Cam Clarke's on the show today? What? Get out!
Cam, this is an extreme honor for me, as you have always been one of my absolute favorite voice actors of all times. I am super excited to get to chat with you just a little bit today.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Well, you know, Cam, the very first thing we like to do when we have a guest on the show, especially for the very first time, is to get to know them a little bit better. So tell me about little Cam, the boy who grew into the man he is today and the actor he is today.
Oh, mercy. Where to begin? Where to begin? I come from a Hollywood family and first worked professionally when I was 6 years old. And my family had a musical variety show on ABC back in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
And called The King Family. And back when television was in black and white. And color was just around the corner, and it was indeed called Living Color. And my mom was a famous singer, and my dad was an actor, so there was kind of no way around it, I guess you could say.
That's awesome.
I mean, I could have rebelled, but hey, I loved it. And the television show, there was my mom and her sisters had a very successful singing group called the King Sisters back during the big band days and in the 50s up through like the Rat Pack.
Oh, nice.
Our show consisted of, there was 36 of us on the show every week.
Wow.
And then when we weren't taping, we'd be on the road, touring the country in a touring bus. And, you're with your mom and your dad and your aunts and uncles and cousins, and you're getting paid for it. So it was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
That is most fascinating. Growing up for you, Cam, were there some actors in the industry that were kind of an influence on you as a boy growing up, besides your family?
Besides my mom and dad?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, because this is all I knew, so it wasn't like, who do I need to look to? It's like, this is just what this is what I do. I've never done anything else. I mean, I certainly had actors that I admired, more than others, but like we were watching, I had some friends over just the other night who'd never seen any of the episodes from my family show. We were watching some shows, and Bing Crosby, we were performing with him on this one television show. And a couple of my friends said, "So what was that like, performing with Bing Crosby?" And I just went, "It's just what I do."
Yeah.
So it didn't have like some celebrity attachment to it, because it was our bubble.
Yeah.
It was our habit trail.
Absolutely. So it wasn't this big, ominous, mysterious thing for you. It was just your day to day, what you were used to, the people that you were in the circles with. And so working with Bing was just like working with part of your extended family in essence.
Yeah. And yet, as an adult, when I started doing cartoon shows and such, I did a show called Eek the Cat.
Yes.
And Eleanor Donahue played the mother on this. Now, I don't know if any of your listeners know who that is, or do you know who that is?
The name sounds familiar, but I am not. It's not.
Oh, lies. Witness may step down. There was a show back in the 50s before my time called Father Knows Best. And she was the oldest daughter on that.
Okay.
And when I met her, it was like, I just said, I am not worthy to be in the same studio with you, because I watched you every day after school. I did a show with a gal whose stage name was Heather Young, who was on the series Land of the Giants back in the 70s. And again, I geeked out at, I guess I would geek out at some of the people that were in my living room when I was a kid, every week on their show. And a lot of these people did end up in the voiceover world. They weren't, well, Eleanor Donahue, she was also a regular on Coach. She played, no, that was Shelley Fabre. Never mind. No, yes, she was. They were both on that. Anyway, blah, blah. That was more somebody for me to geek out than the people of my, like because we worked with Bing Crosby and Ray Bolger, Phyllis Diller, the Milton Berle, that era. And so they were my backyard people as opposed to on the television set in my living room.
Yeah.
So these, someone from Land of the Giants was more impressive to me than Bing Crosby, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and it just kind of depending on, who they were and the kind of fascination you might have had with them,
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember her because I remember she was in Star Trek, the original series. And I remember her, Eleanor was on an episode of Star Trek. Yes. Back in the 70s.
You mean she did an episode of it, or she was a regular at some point? Or?
She did one episode, I believe, on the show, but I think I remember her from Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman as well. And so she looked, I had to look her up because I knew the name sounded familiar. But she was on movies like The Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement, Cold Case, the TV show, Friends. And I knew I had seen her before and her name sounded familiar because my dad raised me on a lot of the older classic films, Danny Kaye, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, all of those older classics, the musicals, and just, I love that stuff growing up as a kid. So, that's awesome.
Yeah. I started I have some friends. We have, I have a movie group,
Awesome.
And we've been together now for about, golly, 4 years. You know, we haven't missed a month. I mean, a member might miss one here and there.
Yeah.
And a couple of times we decided, let's watch some old TV, you know, and we, you know, go online and buy the DVD of whatever the show was. Like, for example, Here Come the Brides, which starred Bobby Sherman. And shocked when we found out it only ran for 2 seasons. Because when you're a little kid, you know, because my friend Laura and I are like, man, we would watch that show every Friday night, you know, whenever. It's like, well, yeah, for a year and a half.
Yeah.
But when you're a little kid, it seems forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Time does have a different perspective for a child, that's for sure.
Indeed.
Well, Cam, one of the main reasons we are talking with you today is because not only are you an actor, but you're a voice actor, of course. And you've worked on amazing shows like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1987 version, and you played both Leonardo and Rocksteady and countless other voices. As listening to the show, you can say, hey, that's Cam. So there are too many to mention, but the 2 main characters that you played on a fairly regular basis were definitely Leonardo and Rocksteady. What was it like getting to work on that cast with amazing cast members like Townsend Coleman, Barry Gordon, Rob Paulson, Renee Jacobs, Pat Fraley, and so many more?
Well, I didn't know them as being anybody per se, you know. I mean, like I said, I geeked out over Eleanor Donahue.
Yeah.
And, you know, working with David Jolliffe, who was from Room 222, and, you know, like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any Pat Fraley or Rob Paulson, didn't know them from anything, and because being in cartoons wasn't like something I was aspiring to, I kind of just backed into it.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, I'm working with, you know, Frank Welker. I can't believe this. I've always wanted to meet him. Cartoons were just what you did on Saturday morning or after school.
Yeah.
They carried no more weight than that. So, however, I will say that when I got cast to play Snoopy in the television version of the musical Snoopy, which was a follow-up to You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, anything Charlie Brown, Peanuts, I mean, I owned. I had, you know, the pajamas and the lunchbox and the, you know, the books and the sweatshirt and blah, 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 you know, like kids did with the Ninja Turtles, you know.
Yeah.
And when I got cast in that part, and I never met Charles Schultz, but Lee Mendelson, who is the guy that produced The Great Pumpkin and Charlie Brown Christmas and all that, it was like, okay, I can die a happy man. And I remember even as a young man realizing how incredibly cool this was for me, because Peanuts was the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
So meeting him, I geeked out, you know, and he's a producer. It's not like he's a celebrity voice talent or on camera person, you know, like that. However, I still geek out. A friend of mine for a number of years now has been, his girlfriend is Erin Murphy, who was Tabitha on Bewitched.
Oh,
and
wow.
even though we are fast friends, she and I still, a little part of me geeks out every time she comes over. I'm just like, Tabitha's sitting in my kitchen. OMG. So again, the TV stuff that I grew up with is, I think, you're most, you know, impacted when you're impressionable, which is as a child.
Yeah. Well, I know Bewitched was one of my absolute favorite TV shows, along with I Dream of Jeannie. Those were 2 of my absolute favorite shows growing up as a kid. Of course, watching mostly reruns and everything. But those shows were
and
just
why their
fascinating.
husbands wouldn't want them to use their powers. What the hell?
Right?
You know?
I know.
Scream at the TV. Why don't you want her to say, she saves your butt every episode?
I know, right? But I think it was kind of also playing to the era that it was in and stuff, you know, but I didn't quite ever understand why he was not wanting her to use her powers, you know, because there were so many things that she could do to just fix something or make things happen. And, you know, no matter what, Darren was always wanting to do it himself when she could have just done it lickety split and winked her nose.
It's totally like a pre-women's lib. I mean, it's when you watch it now, you see it is like laden with the era of men are number one.
Yeah.
And women, no matter how powerful they are, must be home cooking and cleaning.
Yes.
And even though they save your butt, they're still in second position.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's, it's not like they were setting out to do some, big messagey sitcom.
Yeah.
But you look at it now and you go, oh my word, the volumes of political and social, looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Through this was just huge.
And you could say that it was partly because Darren wanted her to be normal, but there was a lot of political reasoning behind the way the show was structured, I think. But it is a fun show.
Oh, yeah, but
and
be normal meant stay home.
Yes.
And don't have a job. In fact, I was just thinking just today about the expression we used to use when they would say about a woman, oh, she wears the pants in the family.
Yeah.
You hear that expression?
Yeah.
It's like, God forbid a woman should be in first position in a family, hierarchy. It's like that was seen as a bad thing,
Yeah, it was. It was. But times have definitely changed, and thank goodness for that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, for you working on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I know there wasn't necessarily this awe factor of the cast members that you worked with, but over the years working with them on the show, what was it like as you guys got to know each other? I'm sorry, I can't talk today. What was it like as you got to know each of these different actors, and what kind of environment was it for you guys as y'all worked on this animated show, especially years later now as you go to cons and fans talk to you about the impact it's had on their lives?
Well, it's like, wait, and we get paid for this? It was, it's like just being in a giant sandbox.
Yeah.
You just come to work and play like you're, in your sandbox playing make-believe. Townsend Coleman and I became very close, but we actually met about 2 years before Turtles. We were both contestants on a game show.
Oh, wow.
And we met there on a show called Super Password. We both lost miserably, but we stayed in touch, and I think he had only recently moved out to California at that point. And then later we would be spending all that time together on the show. It was pretty awesome. But we had met as game show contestants. We had met as losers before we were winners. How's that?
That's pretty funny, Cam.
Are you recording this? Because that's good.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's totally good. Well, and for those of you who are listening who aren't familiar with the names, Townsend Coleman did play Michelangelo on the show, the tubular pizza-eating, loving, partying dude on that show. And Cam played Leonardo, the leader, along with Rocksteady, who was one of the evil cohorts of Shredder. But it's amazing to talk with you, Cam. I mean, that show was definitely one that inspired me and motivated me as a kid. It was super fun, super action-packed. And they've done a lot of renditions, but it is still my absolute favorite to this very day.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
And your voice hasn't changed at all, man.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But there's even a little ageism within voice casting world too. It's like they want to see walking into the studio the age range that you're playing.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got into voice business, I also did a side business where back in the day, like how regular actors, they would have their picture and resume, that they'd hand in to the casting people. We had voice people, you had reel-to-reel tapes, before cassettes even. And I had a side business, and I would designing album covers, this is very sophisticated box covers, and, we'd sit there wringing our hands. I'd be with one of, some voice actor going, well, what color represents me and what typeface, the whole thing that you do in advertising.
Yeah.
And I always said to people, don't put your picture on it. I said, I don't want anybody to know what I look like.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to play a 15-year-old kid or a 600-year-old wizard. And I don't want you to know what I really am, who I really am, what I really am.
Yeah.
So I always loved the fantasy part of that, you know, nobody could tell you were too tall or too short or too fat or, you know.
Whatever, yeah. Yeah. Well, I like that too. I know, because, you know, with ageism, you know, you wouldn't think it would play a factor in voiceover. But, you know, I've heard that here and there occasionally through different stories that have been told. But you're like, why would that matter if it's all about the voice? You know what I mean? Like, why does it matter how an individual looks when they're voicing a character, no matter the age of the character, you know? So that's pretty...
Well, surprises you, young man.
Absolutely. Well, Cam, you know...
and Pat Fraley is my cousin.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And neither did I.
Wow.
We are distant, like, I don't even know how to do the math, like third cousin or whatever it is. We both come from polygamy stock.
Wow.
Mormon, well, it's like we share the same grandfather, you know, great-grandfather, but a different great-grandmother.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. What a history story.
Right?
History lesson.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, Pat's been on the show before. He's absolutely a hoot, and he has amazing stories too, just like you have. You know, I've always loved Ninja Turtles so much, and it's been great getting to talk with Pat Fraley, Townsend Coleman, Barry Gordon, and Renee Jacobs. You know, you guys are just an amazing group of people, and I know recently y'all had a signing. I believe the whole group got together and did some signings, which that was pretty awesome too. Yesterday. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know that's pretty epic. I wish I could have been there. That would have been fun, because I know Peter Renaday was there as well. So pretty awesome time.
Yes. And Peter, I knew prior. We did a play. Was this Sherlock Holmes? Was it Hound of the Baskervilles? Yeah,
Okay.
That's Sherlock Holmes. The theater was located above a bowling alley.
Wow.
In fact, you live around here, right?
I'm actually from Oklahoma.
Okay, but you live here, yeah?
I actually don't. I live in Oklahoma.
Oh, are you calling me from Oklahoma? You sound like you're around the corner. The modern technology. We are living in the future, people.
I know. It's crazy.
Anyway, we did a play together above a bowling alley long before Turtles happened.
Good Lord.
So a couple of the people I did know just from the actor schmactor world.
Awesome. Well, Peter is definitely a talented actor who's done tons of things, and he's not someone I've had the pleasure of having on the show yet, but I definitely look forward to that day, as well as he's an extremely talented man, and I'm glad you guys got to work together. It's awesome that you've had such a history with some of these actors, like Townsend Coleman. I know you guys worked on The Tick together. I'm not sure how much interaction you had with him.
Rob. Rob and Townie and I were all on The Tick.
That's awesome. That is really cool. And The Tick was such a funny show. I mean, you've done such a vast amount of different shows, like Superman the Animated Series, Gargoyles. You were on Tailspin, of course, with Pat Fraley, and he played Wildcat on that show. You were on Disney's Quack Pack, He-Man, which you played He-Man on He-Man and the Masters of the Universe back in 2002. You were on Ultimate Spider-Man, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Avengers Assemble, the reboot for Rainbow Bright.
I'm pretty impressive, aren't I?
Yes, you are. You've done quite a lot of amazing things, and things that are actually all pretty much my favorites. I haven't seen Rainbow Bright, the 2014 version, but you were on that. And of course, The Lion Guard, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and the list just goes on. But you've done so many amazing things, Cam, and I want to thank you for, yes, you've done your job and you're an actor, but you know, a lot of the stuff you've been on has been super inspirational and fun for me, like Spider-Man the Animated Series back in '94 when you played Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards on that show. Of course, a stellar cast, an amazing show that has always been one of my it is my absolute favorite and only version of Spider-Man that I absolutely really love. So you've always been on these epic shows that have become super iconic and super big fan base type shows for the nerd geek community, whatever you want to call it. So it's pretty awesome.
May they reign.
Absolutely. Forever they will live, because digital age is coming, and whether you have a DVD or not, they have it on Netflix and Hulu and everything else today. So that's, thank goodness for those services. But, you've also gotten to work on Timon and Pumbaa, where you actually played the grown-up Simba, which I didn't know. I was like, holy cow, that was Cam. So that's pretty epic. You've gotten to touch a lot of things.
And anytime there was a Lion King thing in one of the Disney parks, that was me as Simba. And any of the toys that had talking voices.
That's awesome.
And I sang the theme song in the second movie, in the Simba's Pride.
That's awesome, Cam. I didn't know that. Thank you
so
for
as far as
sharing
being
that.
impressed, I got to work with Hans Zimmer.
Oh, no way.
As a singer, like I said, I grew up in a singing family. I geeked out, meeting him.
Yeah. I mean, Hans, I love his music, man. Wow. That's epic.
Yeah.
That's super epic. And I did not know all those tidbits about Simba. So thank you for sharing those. Cause I know Pat Fraley does the Buzz Lightyear stuff at Disney. So that is pretty epic.
Yeah. It's a good gig. And I, a day doesn't go by that I don't, lean over to whoever's sitting next to me and just say, can you believe we get paid for this?
That's awesome.
So lucky.
Absolutely.
So fortunate.
Well, Cam, I just have 2 final questions for you, and we will wrap this interview up. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
All right, here we go.
I feel like I'm on a game show. I'm gonna lose.
You're the next contestant.
A pop quiz? I didn't do the homework.
Well, the first of the 2 questions is, what kind of advice would you give to an aspiring actor or actress, Cam, whether they're looking at pursuing a career specifically as an actor in just anything, or if they're looking more to gear towards the niche of voiceover itself?
Oh, golly. What advice? Well, first of all, I'd say, I'm glad I'm not you and starting in this era.
That's funny.
There's just so much competition now.
Yeah.
I mean, when I started doing voice work, you mentioned how that Rob and Townie and I would be on the same show.
Yeah.
There were so few of us that everybody knew what everybody was working on, and you knew that if you didn't get it, Rob did, and you'd get the next one or whatever. There was only so many of us.
Yeah.
And I won't say I took it for granted, but it was just a different world.
Yeah, absolutely.
The advice, what would I tell you? Pursue it. If it's a dream of yours, try it. There's nothing worse. It's better to have not succeeded than never to have tried.
I love that.
I have been very fortunate, and again, working steadily from the time I was 6 years old on. I don't know about advice because it's such a different world.
Yeah.
All I can say is don't live with regrets. Try things. Try it. I can't speak to how to get an agent or how to get a part or, all of that stuff. But if you feel it's in your gut, you got to try it. But you got to be ready. You got to be prepared because as the saying goes, you only have one chance to make a first impression. So if there are classes where a person lives that, that we get you prepared before, you just submit some, demo tape that you made in your bathroom sitting there in your big boy underpants and your socks, but try it. And I guess I did the voice thing because I didn't, as I grew up, I stopped working on camera. But I tried everything, I wasn't just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
I tried theater. I tried modeling. I tried television and movies and this thing called voiceover. And I was like, oh, hello. And it was great. But I had people who helped me, people who, and that's just your stars aligning, when someone goes, you're pretty good at that. Have you met so-and-so? Let me introduce you. That kind of world.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
But I studied, I didn't just show up. Michael Bell was my first animation coach, and he was amazeballs.
Super awesome. I love Michael.
And he was a great teacher and taught me a all the basics that I needed, and made my demo after that. But again, it was a smaller world. So, yeah. Good luck, everybody.
Well, I think your advice is totally great, Cam. And, you know, everybody gives a different perspective on the show. And I love the fact that you say, if it's in your heart, if it's something you feel passionate about, pursue it, you know, and whatever that means, you know, whatever people have to do to get there, that's part of their journey.
And if you don't get there, you tried.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing worse than not trying,
because the regret will kill you. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Cam, that was awesome advice. Thank you so much. The last question I have for you today is, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Oh, wow. You mean as a performer?
As a performer, as an individual, whatever you want people to say about you in 100 years.
Well, I hope the planet's still here in 100 years.
Right?
Oh, golly, you got me stumped, and I'm never at a loss for words. As a person, I would like I've lived in my house for 28 years now.
Wow.
And every Halloween, and I never know what I'm going to do, but like the day before, I come up with a costume and the whole kind of, you know, scene that I'm going to do to greet the kids at Halloween.
Yeah.
And you'd have to have another 3 hours for me to tell you all the, you know, all the characters and the responses from the children and the parents. But I mean, this won't be 100 years from now, but I want to be somebody who now has kids or grandkids, you know, if you want to do 50 years from now, goes, you know, there was this guy in my neighborhood, and every year he would dress up at Halloween and he'd do this thing. He was crazy, but he did this thing and I've never forgotten, you know.
Yeah.
That I love. And as far as personally, that I would like to be remembered for creating safe and romantic environments. I grew up in old Hollywood, and I've lived my life with, you know, candles and music and singing, and the people who are in my life, I want them to say he created a wonderful place to visit. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah. Just kind of the environment that you bring is kind of that romanticism from a time back in Hollywood that is the time I cherish, even though I wasn't around that time. You know, I love watching those older films like, you know, Singing in the Rain, and just kind of the romanticism that Hollywood had back then. And I totally get what you're saying, that you want people to feel that presence you've carried with you through your life, and to be able to share that with them, and for them to be able to feel that love and that romanticism from that time gone by. I love that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Cam, it has been an absolute honor having you on the show today.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
You're very welcome. Well, Cam, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Would you please do us the special honor of closing out as both Leonardo and Rocksteady from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Sure. Hey, Rocksteady, did you hear? Hear what? Cam Clarke is going to be on Who Did That Voice? No way, get out. Yeah, he really is. He's on that show, Who Made That Choice? No, Who Did That Voice? Oh, that's even better.
Hey there, this has been Cam Clarke on Who Did That Voice.
Well, everyone, I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode with Cam Clarke, the voice of Leonardo from the 1980s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and so much more. And if you did, please find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Who Did That Voice. I would love to hear from you. You know, a question you might ask yourself is, where can I listen to Who Did That Voice? That's an excellent question. You can hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co. Click the Episodes tab and listen away. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us next time for our special guest, Brian Volk Weiss, the man who produced and created The Toys That Made Us on Netflix. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, do you ask yourself who did that voice? Well, if you do, go to our website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click on the Episodes tab. Choose an actor, pick their name, and see pictures from the different characters they voiced in their career.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.